This is not the time for you to talk anything negative. This is not expected till you are asked specifically about your weaknesses, and we'll cover that in just a moment. Let's look at the first question. Tell me about yourself. So if this is the question which you have, which are asked, and yeah, this is another funny thing. So tell me about yourself. There was really a person I know. This person started off with, this is not Instagram, and that person said, "Sir, I have 12,000 followers on my Facebook." Sir, wonderful. This is a great thing that you have a lot of fan following or followers on Instagram and that, but that's not the skill which we are talking about. So what is the right answer? Tell me about yourself. When they're asking about tell me about yourself, basically very quickly you got to define yourself. You got to highlight some pertinent points about yourself and then share why you think with those skills and competencies you are the right person for the job. This is a simple way to understand why they ask. They want to know who you are. They want you to have an opportunity to highlight your expertise or competencies and skills, and then share why you're at the interview and why you are right for the right job. All right. So let's look at some of the things. I'll give you 2 minutes of theory, and then we'll go to the actual examples. All right. When you say, tell me about yourself, some of the tips is, do not ask the interviewer, sir, you tell me what you want me to tell you. This is rude, this is impolite, this is not professional. And the reason why it is that, because the interviewer is asking you, please tell me about yourself. So you should just start answering and not ask the interviewer again. 2, do not speak what's already in the resume. The interviewer has your resume, you already submitted it. That's the reason you are doing an HR interview. So it's very important for you to not speak anything which is on the resume. And this is the opportunity for you to speak things which are outside the resume. And while talking about yourself, you should use adjectives like problem solving, creative, hardworking, quick learner, and so on and so forth. And please cover what you have accomplished. If you have some experience as an internship, and so on and so forth, talk that. Or you should find this reason to talk what you accomplished in your college. And of course, tell why you want to be in that position or why you are the right person to fit the requirement. All right. Last but not the least, when somebody asks you about, tell me about yourself, this is not the time where you talk about your weaknesses. Sir, I'll tell you a lot about myself, but I'm a lazy person, sir. Sir, academics is not what I was interested in. Sir, basically any job is okay, so I thought I'll just apply for you. This is not the time to. This is the time to focus on your strengths, which are relatable to your work. So if you're applying for a software job, if you're applying for a testing job, if you're applying for any tech job and so on and so forth, you can talk about your generic strengths, but the strength has to be relatable to work. What is a non-relatable work? Suppose you are very, very good at, let us say, trekking. And you're always talking about, I do this trekking, I did trekking, or I am a swimmer, and so on and so forth. How is it relatable to work? You have to connect that swimming or something like that. A sport is all about discipline and it's about practice. And that is how you talk about your strength and not about the specific hobby which you have. All right. So if these are how you answer the question, tell me about yourself, let's look at a couple of examples. All right. All right. Let's look at this example of a person. So this is just an example. Please, it is no way prescriptive. You have to use your own style. You have to use your own words. But I'm just giving you an example. So if the interviewer asks me, hey, Vasu, tell me about yourself. I'll say, hi, I'm Vasu. Basically, I'm a very energetic person. I'm very good at communication. I'm a quick learner. And I've been on the top 5 in my batch with an aggregate of 89% GPA in my computer science degree. I worked on various web applications and mobile applications. And one of the interesting projects which I worked is an image recognition solution, which was in fact used by, is currently being used in our library for attendance management. And overall, sir, I'm a very curious person. I deep dive into the topics which interest me, predominantly around technology, mobile and web development. And I continue to persist and work hard till I get the answers. And I love to work in a team, sir. Because of these things, sir, I think I will make a good fit for your company. So if you actually time, I spoke for just about 60 seconds. I've spoken about words which describe me. I've spoken that I'm good at academics. I've spoken that I have done certain things which are related to software development. That's predominantly about the projects. And then I've given that I'm a curious person. I deep dive. I work to work as a team. So these are the things which the HR is very interested in. HR is not going to ask you about what's your tech stack in your web application and all that. I worked on various projects. It's not just one project, various projects. I was curious. What else are you curious on? So you're giving excuses for an HR with the very first question to pick up some words. And HR always, in any interviewer, whenever you explain, they pick up certain words. You're an effective communicator. Give an example of that. So we'll find an example to give. Sir, typically during my projects, a project is evaluated on my technical skills, my oratory skills. I always used to get high marks or high grades on the way I am communicating. And this is a feedback I received during my first year, and I've been continuously trying to hone and skill upon my communication skills. Oh, you say that you are a curious person. What are you curious on? So they're always picking up words from what you say, and that's is going to take the conversation forward. All right, let's look at another example. All right, so another example is, as I said, this is not at all prescriptive. So this is actually a person I know who was, and I asked her, hey, you know what, you got into a good company. How did you get into it, and so on and so forth. And this person said, sir, the answer to the question, tell me about yourself. I said, hi, I'm Rashmika. I carry out any task which is assigned to me with a lot of sincerity and dedication. And sir, during my college, I was a teaching assistant to my computer science HOD. And because of my role, which I got as a teaching assistant, I've been a good mentor and a good friend to a lot of juniors. And I guided them during their projects and their assignments. I've been a very fast learner and allowed to keep up my process of learning and always looking at better ways to solve problems. And sir, also, I'm a very creative person. I love to paint. I do poetry. I love photography. And in order to do so, I'm always pushing myself to think out of the box and do something creative. Like I used to do a lot of street photography. I now got into macro photography because of the new iPhone, which I bought. So because of my combination of good creative skills and coding skills, I think I'll make a very good employee for your company. So this is another way of explaining. Another way of looking at how you can explain the question, tell me about yourself. All right. Most of the people on this session today are freshers. And most of the time, whether TCS Ninja is going to happen in the month of August, then Accenture is going to come, then Infosys and Wipro and so on and so forth, they all expect you to have no experience at all or no practical career experience. So what do you do when you do not have an experience? Your resume, we'll do another complete session on resume and how to write a good resume. The best way to circumvent that answer that you have no experience is doing a good project. So hence the second example which I gave you, or the first example which I gave you, it's all about in that 60 seconds, they were able to talk about web development, mobile development, which are projects which they did academically or through their own interest. So that's the reason why we at Edist always encourage people to do mini projects, whether it's a web application project, and a lot of new mini projects are going to come up on Edist. We encourage you because a lot of weightage is given to projects which you do at college. And the more you do, the more meatier your resume will become. And especially in the technical interviews, you will be in a better position to do that. Okay, so all right, so there's a question about what are your strengths and weaknesses. All right, so typically this has been a very classic case where people ask about, tell me about your strengths and weaknesses. I will cover that at the end of the session. But typically when you're telling about yourself, this is not the time where you explicitly tell, sir, let me tell you about a weakness. One of the person I was speaking to during the mock interviews which we're doing, tell me some of your strengths. He spoke about some good strengths, sir. Once I pick up a job, I pick it up and do it till the end. And by the way, sir, once the job is finished, I become very lazy. This is not the time for you to talk anything negative. This is not expected till you're asked specifically about your weaknesses, and we'll cover that in just a moment. Can you explain about the quick learner with an example? Wonderful. So a couple of examples, I'll tell you in exactly 60 seconds. One example is one person was asked, hey, how are you a quick learner? Sir, when my HOD introduced us to EDIST, and we were all told that we will all be, we are all supposed to do a project in Python. And we thought it's going to be a pure Python based thing. But when we went to meet the mentor at EDIST, they said, no, what we're going to do is a full stack project. It's going to be CSS, HTML, JavaScript, Python, Flask, and so on and so forth. And we were very surprised, sir. But we understood that we had a very short time. We had to finish that project and submit it to the college. I put in absolute effort, dedication. I knew that I had to do a lot of learning. So I put in my focus, very quickly learned what are those specific skills needed to finish that project, and delivered the project ahead of time, sir. In fact, we had 4 weeks. I finished the entire project in 3 weeks. That's a kind of an example of a quick learner. All right. So yeah, let's move on. So I told you a couple of examples of what you can talk about. Tell me about yourself.